Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Digitally. What is digital transformation? It's a topic that's come up many times. Many of you have reached out to me and said, listen, Sanjay, it's very amorphous, very ambiguous. Sometimes it's not very clear what it means. What do you guys really do? Tell me more about it. And so this is the episode I want to use to actually get into unpeel that discussion. And to do that, I wanted to pick something that I think you and I can all relate to. It's actually a crisis the US went through last year in 2022 when there was a real shortage of infant formula. Infant formula is obviously consumed by up to 8 million Americans, so it's a really important, essential product. And one of the manufacturers lost one of their plants, so the plants actually went offline for 6 to 8 months. And so overnight, you've got this crisis where there's a mismatch, severe mismatch between demand and supply, a lot of public confidence around the availability and all of the stuff that comes around it. And then around that, the opportunity for other manufacturers to step in and to help and to lead. And one of those companies is Reckitt. And Reckitt is a provider of, among other things, infant formula. They came onto the table and they stepped up demand. But at the center, at the helm of all of that activity is and was their CIO. And so I'm super excited and pleased to bring to you a colleague, a friend, and it's Rama Donepudi. Rama is CIO for the nutrition business globally for Reckitt, and he joins us today, I believe, from New Jersey. Rama, welcome.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you for having me here. Super excited.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, Rama. And listen, there's so much to discuss, but first things first. I just wanna kind of get to the real thing that's on my mind, which is, it feels like you were in a pressure cooker. You tell us a little bit about it. What did it feel like to be in that situation?
Thank you, Sanjay. Definitely. So this crisis is actually, as a CIO before the CIO, I would say as a father of two girls who actually grew infant formula kids, I personally know how critical this is and a lifeline for the infants. When we first heard about the crisis, when the shelves all got emptied out all over the US, we know that this is not like, something we can solve instantly. This really needs to look at all angles, from supply, from providing the insights, and also how do we communicate back to moms.
Wow. Look, so you're saying it's an essential product. And it sounds like you had a massive step up. I think you were saying about almost 40% increase in terms of your ability to manufacture at quality and send it out. And while all of that was going on, you were, I'm assuming, under a lot of public scrutiny.
Yeah, so as you rightly said, right? So it's not just whether we're able to produce more, but we produce more and distribute it evenly across the North America where the parents are in need. And then also as the more regulatory and government scrutiny about how this supply is being distributed. So we have to provide insights and analytics to White House and Congress, to the leaders and all, how we are distributing it, and what's our pipeline of product coming, and then how the shelves are going to be refilled with our product. So
Okay.
this is.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, I think you've put us exactly where I wanted you to take us, which is you've essentially said, listen, this is not just been a pressure cooker, it's a glass pressure cooker because you've got all this visibility and scrutiny, but basically it's an essential product. It's mission critical out there. Number one, it's massive scale that you have to drive all of a sudden, almost overnight. Scaling up by 40% is not a small joke, particularly for high quality products. And then on top of that, you've got a significant amount of scrutiny with the Congress and White House visits that you've had to make to be able to report back. And so now, stepping away from there, let's talk a little bit about what it takes to kind of solve for something like that. And so think about us, your journey, you're at the table, we're going to sit around your table back in the day, and you're at the helm of this. What's going through your mind? What are some of the things you are working on to solve for this? Or we're working on to solve for this?
Yeah, so one good thing is that coming out of the COVID crisis, right? So we are looking at our technology landscape, and we started already our digital transformation journey, right? So how do we structure ourselves, right? We used to be project-based, moved into product-based operating model. So we know our internal products in and out, knowing business in and out. Then when this crisis happened, that was like, hey, how do we make sure we can deliver the changes with the agility and speed? So the first thing comes the supply, right? So our systems are set up that US is our main core supply for the world. We used to supply to Europe and to Asia and to Latin American countries. And then overnight, the tables got turned around. Like when US needs the full supply to our US babies, we looked at how can we bring the product, which was approved by FDA from Singapore and from Mexico back into here, right? So this is where we started looking at how do we support with the systems, turning around our configurations to make that happen, not in months, in weeks. So that's the first big thing to address the supply part.
And by the way, just to pause 30 seconds on that, my God, you use some fantastic terms. I think you talk about the move from project to product, super important in so many digital organizations because it has embedded in it a sense of familiarity with and depth in business, right? So that was a super important one. And then you talked about agility and the need to be able to shift overnight and at the scale that you're talking about, inverting, if you will, the export-import kind of scenario. And that takes a lot of business coordination as it does underwriting with data and technology and AI. And so I just want to pause for 30 seconds because those are such important things you pointed out. Sorry, go ahead.
No, the second part is that about, okay, so now we are producing 40% more than what we were doing the year before and distributing in the US in different parts of the country. But how do we share this information to moms and dads and parents and whoever is trying to find the product, and to the retailers and also to the government agencies, like whether it is FDA and as I said, US Congress, and then White House is asking on a weekly basis, how is the allocation is happening of the product, right? So that having a strong data foundation underneath what we have, we were able to provide all those insights to all the government agencies so that they can be sure that, hey, there is a pipeline, this is how much they're producing it, this is how much the stock availability in different parts. That's the second.
So this foundation of data that you just talked about is, I think, as you pointed out, is fundamental. Obviously, you're getting a lot of pull from lots of different people around getting reports out. I'd imagine you got a lot of calls from parents. Do you use a chatbot? Like that must have been going through the roof as well, right?
Of course, yeah. I mean, that's the you're right on the spot there, right? The next part is our digital area, right? So how do we communicate with our CRC, right? So where we talk to consumers, the calls like coming 24/7. There is no way we can man those calls to address all of that. So we're trying to put our digital capabilities to using our chatbots and AI to respond to it and try to provide them the right information, whether it's about the product availability or the alternatives of the products, all of that. This is through multiple channels, right? Whether it is through mobile apps and through chatbots and through our websites or the communications through emails across the board.
Yep. And it's a crisis situation. So you have to be accurate, you have to be consistent, you have to be comprehensive, and you have to be, as you said, across all of those omni-channels, the same communication. So, okay, so that was the second one. Is there another one that comes to mind?
No, I think, this is overall, right? I mean, if you look at from supporting my supply and providing the insights to multiple parties, and then the communicating back to consumers. These are the top three where we addressed it so that we can actually rebuild the trust in the category and the industry. Because once the crisis happens, when the product is not there, the overall as an industry in this infant formula category, parents are like, hey, the product availability and all, right? So we pull all this data, and then by regaining the trust from the consumers, and now we are the #1 trusted brand by pediatricians. And then if you look at in North America, we are feeding more than half of the babies in North America, and then we are #1 trusted brand, and we are the #1 worldwide for the cow milk allergy, right? So how do we provide all the related insights to claim these statuses for our business so that the Reckitt can be in the forefront of helping in the parents?
I mean, Rama, just listening to your story, I mean, not only did you and the company rise to the challenge and address the shortage and all of the things that were required for the public at large and your consumers, you actually turned a crisis into an opportunity and actually grew your market share, came to be more trusted, you're much better known than you were before. I mean, kudos on what a fantastic job done. And obviously, it sounded like the pillars of that movement was really the agility around the business and the technology systems to drive the change. It was the foundation of data that you brought in that allowed you to be able to consistently report and then use all of that to drive better demand supply sort of balance and more communication, more visibility, and really through all of that improve and increase consumer confidence and trust. And so I want to ask you to maybe step back now from your role. Many of us around the globe listening in are also now thinking about, boy, you went through a lot. What can you share with us that we can take away, that we can use in the work we normally do in data or tech or AI across the globe? Like if you had to leave us with a couple of thoughts, Sanjay, here's some things for you to think about. You'll never be in the role that I was in, but here's 2 learnings you can take away. What would those be?
I think the first one is, right, normally we don't want to wait until a crisis hit us, right? So the good thing is we started our digital transformation journey right before the crisis, where we restructured ourselves in a product top model, and our whole IT operating model is based on the product. And then we fixed our tech architecture and the data foundations and digital landscape. So you don't have to wait for a crisis to happen, right? So we did this, and that actually gave us the leg up to step up and raise for this crisis. And because of that, we passed through this test and we navigated this crisis with a flying colors, right? We were able to produce, we were able to report, and we were able to increase the trust. So that's the step one, right? So you fix your org and operating model so that any crisis comes, you're able to step up and do it. That's the main one I would suggest.
So guys, what you're saying is get your operating model right. Think about the transition from project to product. Get the underwritings of data, which is critical, super critical, and it's not an easy job to do. And we didn't spend time on that today, but we know that is significant amount of work to kind of get that foundation put into place. And I think one of the things that came through in the way you talked about it is, Rama, you're one of those people, frankly, you could just be in business as you could be in IT. I mean, you're deep in the business issues. You understand the business inside out. I'm assuming your team's the same way as you are. Like getting grounded in the fundamentals of the business so you can actually apply technology to transform it is almost as important as anything else, isn't it?
Exactly. I think that's another important one, right? So for us to able to agile and fast, tech and foundations is one, but knowing business cold and knowing business in and out is a must. So we pushed ourselves to knowing the whole business, infant formula business. How do we communicate, and then how do we produce? Because our regulations are so strict, even more stricter than a pharma business, right? So so we knowing the business, we were able to respond fast and then do it fast.
Now, just on behalf of everyone in this audience, I just have to say thank you. You did a great, you've done so much. I am a parent, but my kids are much older now, so we don't actually consume the product anymore in our home, but I can imagine the impact it did. And for everything you did to bring us around to where we are, thank you. By the way, I have to point out, you've got a nice shelf behind you, and I'm assuming those are all of your products. We won't get a chance to discuss it, but it's great to see. Ram, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you so much.